So in this video, we're going to actually get Unity and install it on our systems. Um, if this is not the first time that you've done this and you already have Unity, you can skip this part. But we're going to get started here. So what you see here is unity.com or www.unity.com in your browser. And what you want to do is you want to go up here and click the Get Started. And that takes you to the Unity store. Okay. And once it loads, you want individual. And your choices are basically personal or student. And it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. If you can prove your eligibility as a student, that's great. Otherwise, use the personal. Either way, click the Get Started, and it will take you to a download page, and you can download the Unity Hub application. And that's what you want at this point, is you want Unity Hub. And so it will ask you to verify your eligibility. You'll get a registration kind of thing. You can also, as a supplement to these videos, go to the Unity Learn, and they have their own program that actually leads to some certifications. And the certifications are a nice thing to have. So you might want to just follow those tracks along, either in parallel or sideways to the videos that I'm putting out. In any case, once you get Unity Hub downloaded and installed onto your system, follow all the directions to install it. What you'll eventually end up with is the Unity Hub itself. And Unity Hub is, mine has a bunch of projects in there. Yours will be basically empty. And this is where you're going to start with. This is how you start all your projects. Okay. And we can click on New Project and get the New Project wizard going. You don't need to do that. One thing, though, that you should do first is go to the installs. And you'll notice here that I have more than one version of the Unity environment. And the reason for that is, this is a quickly evolving platform. And so you could stay right up to the date with the very latest version, but generally you don't want that. You want one of the stable versions. And there's two sets of those. There is the older version, which has LTS attached to it, and that's long-term support. And that's going to be the most stable, but it's also going to be at least a year old. And so that may not suit your purposes. But on the other hand, that may be exactly what you want. So LTS is not a bad thing to have. Other than that, last year's most recent releases, so notice this is 2022 right now, and I have 2021 releases here, and those are the most recent stable versions. And so those are the ones that are best for you to work with. Okay. The other thing, and notice that I've got two versions of last year's 2.7 and 2.18. When you start a project, you generally don't want to change versions. Okay. You can upgrade a version in the middle of a project or afterwards even, but it leads to some difficulties, and I'll try and demonstrate that to you later on, because I'll start a down level project and then I will upgrade it. You'll see the kinds of things, the kinds of warnings that even Unity gives you when you prepare to do this. Gives you the idea that, oh, you may break things, and it is true. Things change a lot in this platform, and so old news is sometimes what you want to stick with. rather than constantly upgrading and trying to refactor your project all the time. You'd never catch up. So better to finish a project in a down level version of the environment and get the project working and deliverable than trying to all the time keep your environment up to date. Okay. On the other hand, when Unity Hub, I want to make the distinction, Unity Hub is different than the Unity editors. Okay. When Unity Hub wants to update, definitely go ahead and do that. That causes no problems whatsoever and makes the most recent versions of all the assets available to you. So you really want to do that. You'll see that when you actually start up your Unity Hub, it'll tell you, oh, there's a new version. Do you want to restart now and install it, or do you want to wait? Whichever. But as soon as you can, go ahead and upgrade the hub. As far as the installs, you can see you can have more than one editor version. Okay? And as a matter of fact, it's pretty easy to do. So this first time, when you don't even have an editor at all, you can go to Install Editor, and it'll tell you, oh, here's all the long-term support from 2019, 2020, and 2021. Okay, and then other versions. So the current most stable version is 2022 1.1. Okay, and so you can just sit there and click install, and then it will ask you what platforms do you want to run on, and I usually do Android, because especially if you have an Android phone, Android installation is free. iOS build support, for those you're going to need Xcode and a programmer's license from Apple, and so I don't recommend those unless you're really going to develop for iOS. But since we're learning, I'd say stay away from it. Linux, if you're running on a Linux system and you want to develop alongside this, it's going to look a little bit different, but pretty much the same. So you can use that. Mac, same thing. If you're working on OS X instead of Windows and you want support for your code to be able to run on your platform, absolutely, this is what you want to select. And then there's WebGL as well. Windows build support, doesn't really need it. Definitely don't need the dedicated server stuff at this point unless I'm actually doing server development. Documentation is always good to have. Language support, because my system supports Japanese. I have the Asian languages here available to me, but I don't really need those. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue at this point. It makes you agree to the terms of the license again. And then it's going to do this long, slow install. And it'll get to the point where we have the entire thing installed. Now it's going to ask me in a moment, my system is, if it's okay, because I'm the administrator on this system. But it wants to know if it's okay to install this. And so it'll take a little while to get this all installed. So I'm going to pause this video while it does that, and we'll resume once we get this installed. And now everything is downloaded and installed. When we go back and look, I now have 4 complete Unity platforms installed on my system. This is another reason why it's more important to have a lot of storage and memory than it is to even have a fast CPU in your development machine, because these things tend to take up a lot of space. Okay, now we've done that, go back to projects, and we're actually ready to create a new project here, but that's the subject for the next video. But this is it. Now we have installed and set up Unity on our system.